Iowa Democratic Party officials are bracing for a potential record turnout in tonight's caucuses. As Caitlin Huey-Burns reports, that's being driven largely by one man, President Trump.
And you have brought us to this point where we are tonight.
As Democratic presidential hopefuls fan out across Iowa in the home stretch, they're encountering first-time caucus goers like Ankeny resident Christy Remus.
4 years ago, I didn't even vote. But this year, for sure.
The candidates are drawing big crowds, and party officials expect that to translate to record turnout on Monday.
What used to be just, school auditoriums, school gyms, church cafeterias, now we're renting out Wells Fargo Arena, Hy-Vee Hall, the Knapp Center at Drake University.
And what's kind of the single thing that you can identify that's really fueling that?
Getting rid of Donald Trump.
President Trump won Iowa overwhelmingly in 2016. But in the 2018 midterms, Democrats flipped 2 congressional seats, 4 state house seats, and other local offices, all driven by movement in the suburbs.
I'm sure.
Now they're organized for 2020.
We also have this volunteer structure that is so sophisticated that we haven't necessarily had before in our suburbs. All of the women who marched after Trump got elected, all of the women who came together to elect women in 2018 are now running our caucuses. It's created this structure of volunteers that's mostly led by women.
That includes Amber Gustafson, a political outsider who came within 3 points of defeating the state Senate Majority Leader in 2018. Now she's a precinct captain for Elizabeth Warren.
I've had a lot of friends who have never caucused before who are sending me private messages saying, so how do I caucus?
Gustafson says women in particular became more politically engaged after President Trump's election.
Much more motivated, much more willing to get out and knock doors, to work on campaigns, to organize, to raise money. I have suburban mom friends who have their own political action committees.
The Democratic candidates are counting on them to show up in big numbers Monday, then to take the fight to the Republicans and make Iowa blue in November.
And CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now. Caitlin, so interesting to watch your piece. What surprised you most as you worked on it?
Well, talking to Iowa Democrats over the past several months, they've really been counting on this infrastructure that they've been building, especially in the wake of Donald Trump's election. They say that a lot of people who may not have participated in politics before started to get really involved before those 2018 midterms, and they're really hoping that Iowa Caucus Day is like their big game day, their big chance to show what they've been doing for the past few years. And it was really interesting talking to strategists and organizers who have really seen this movement in the suburbs, not only in Iowa, but across the country, and especially women getting involved. You heard in that piece there, one of the women telling me that she was a political outsider is now a precinct captain. She's hearing from people, her mom friends, her friends, parents, and other people who never even thought about caucusing before, and they're coming into this process. And that's really interesting to me because caucusing is such a strange process at times, right? It's very unfamiliar. Yeah. It takes a lot to learn about this process. So the idea that people are organizing and getting engaged for something like this, Democrats are hoping that that translates beyond the Iowa caucuses.
On the question of turnout, does any one candidate stand to benefit if there is, in fact, record turnout tonight?
Well, Democrats want big turnout tonight because it can show the power of this infrastructure they've been building. Iowa caucuses are different from primaries insofar as you don't really need to turn up turnout in particular areas. Mm-hmm. You need to do well across the board. But candidates like Bernie Sanders want to show a real strength, a real force, grassroots momentum, and that's what a place like Iowa can provide.
Well, as you mentioned, President Trump won Iowa by almost 10 points in 2016, but Democrats saw some gains in the midterms. So how are Iowans actually feeling about the general election fight?
Well, it would be a very uphill climb. And so that's why you're seeing these 2 congresswomen, Democratic congresswomen, Cindy Axne and Abby Finkenauer, flipped congressional seats. They are here supporting Joe Biden. They believe that because they come from these swing districts and a lot of their constituents are either moderate Democrats or Republicans, they say they feel like Joe Biden is the best person to have at the top of the ticket. Other Democrats are saying that if you can really empower your your base of support, you can do well. Iowa's tricky, though. It had a really big swing from Obama to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, of course, was here just a few days ago, making clear to people that he did well here in the general election in 2016, and he plans to do so again.
Right, and they've got surrogates, something like more than 80 surrogates here in Iowa tonight. So I know after this hit, you are heading to a caucus site in Des Moines. What are you watching for?
I am going to be watching for how people are influenced, how they're persuaded. Are they persuaded by seeing people they know? Are they persuaded by the arguments in these final days? Usually there is the gold standard poll that is released Saturday night before this that can influence decisions. That was pulled because of some questions about the surveying process. So campaigns are saying, look, this is a jump ball. There are polls that show a very close race. They show 2/3 of voters are not decided yet. So there's a lot of time for persuasion to happen, and a lot of people could change their minds.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns. Caitlin, we will be checking in with you throughout the night. Thank you.